and welcome to South to North, coming to you from Wits University in Johannesburg. Have you ever seen or experienced something that felt real but didn't quite make sense? A miracle, perhaps, a ghost, or something you can't even put into words? If so, you're actually not alone. Millions of people say they've had a supernatural experience, and the phenomenon goes back as long as mankind itself. On today's show, we're going to talk about healing, traditional medicine, and ancient cultural customs. In other words, the kind of stuff scientists can't explain, the world of spirits and juju. My first guest is Nokulinda Mkhize. She's a South African traditional healer, or in our custom, she's known as a sangoma. Welcome, Nokulinda. I understand as a sangoma, I must greet you, I must say Togoza.
Togoza Gogo.
Togoza Gogo, and we are addressing the ancestor now. Okay. Level with me. I have relatives who are sangomas. Some of them are genuine. Others are just young people who just don't want to find a job. How do we know that you are real?
There's no knowing that I'm real, and there's no real telling whether or not a sangoma is legitimate, because people often find themselves ill or without a job or any kind of trauma that they may have experienced in this life. It's modern world, it's difficult to do a lot of things, and Black people particularly are suffering from quite a bit of pain and alienation and senselessness. So you find a lot of people feeling that maybe their misfortune or their poverty or something like that is related to the displeasure of ancestors, and they go to twasa, which is the process of becoming initiated as a sangoma, hoping that it's going to make their lives better because they're going to appease the ancestors. And, a lot of people go through it, and a lot of people then say they are a sangoma, but there's no real way of knowing because there's no test, there's no SANPS accreditation, there's nothing of that sort.
We must just go on
trust. You must just be strong and try and, good luck.
Often sangomas are confused with witches, the world of witchcraft. What's the difference?
Look, there's no difference. I think that maybe we need to look at, how people have come to define Izangoma as witches and the use of the term witchcraft as well. We have to look back to perhaps when the first anthropologists arrived on the continent, and they see these people supposedly doing strange things, and they voodoo, and they see bones, and they see herbs, and they see chanting. And in that Western frame of reference, the only word that they can, attribute to that is a witch, or a witch doctor, or black magic, or magic.
But hold on, Nokulinda. There are instances where this world can be used to harm or to threaten. You'll find when people have a dispute, the one will say, I'm going to consult my sangoma, or what, is it my witch or my sangoma, to get back at you, cast a spell on you. Just explain all of that to me.
I think the world of witchcraft is not something that is uniform or specific to Izangoma. Human beings are prone to doing bad things to one another with or without the intervention of a practitioner, And it just so happens that it's maybe a common thing, or we're scapegoats or something that people then attribute the negative that people do upon one another to Izangoma, just because we happen to have access to the spiritual realm and we're able to use particular powers to affect matter.
Talk to me about your calling, because I understand you can't be a sangoma unless you have a calling.
Generally, what they mean is that somebody has a gift, whether it's a psychic gift or a clairvoyant gift or a healing gift, and it begins to affect the way that they're able to live their everyday life. So people get ill, people get summoned through dreams, people go and start experiencing what you would call psychotic episodes and, maybe suspected to be schizophrenic or bipolar or something like that. Which are spirit guides, come to us in this way, and they destabilize us.
The
in
ancestors,
our waking lives,
that is,
yes.
they communicate with you.
They communicate with us in a way that's quite destabilizing.
So they cause basically disharmony in your life until you respond.
Until you respond.
And you respond
by going, well, hopefully they'll lead you to your mentor. You get isolated from your world, and you go and you live with the sangoma, and you work under them. So you get to understand all these things that are happening to you. You learn how to command particular gifts. You learn to listen and tune in with nature, so you can learn about herbs and medicines. You learn how to divine, and you learn how to channel your abilities, basically.
But Nokulinda, is the perception about amasangoma changing? I'm finding that more and more, in South Africa especially, young, beautiful, business-savvy, technologically savvy women and men are responding to the call, whereas when I was growing up as a child, it was always the elderly, the less educated, who seemed to be getting that call.
I think that times are changing. you know, and there has been a return of the ancients, because we have, as Black people, African people, been moving, whether consciously or by circumstance, away from our old ways, more towards a westernized way. And there has been a call back to our roots, you know. And so I feel like Amadlozi are less lenient than they used to be before. And I also feel as though maybe young people are also looking for something else, because we find that we're not able to, you know, live our lives fully in this world, which doesn't really accept who we are as Black people. It's difficult. You know, you can't articulate your Blackness or your Africanness completely within this Western world and in capitalism and all of that. So I think there's also a thirst in our blood.
Is there a conflict, or can they live side by side? How do you reconcile the two worlds?
As you can see, I did. You know, I can't explain how, because I mean, I was brought up like this. I'm a young, middle-class Black South African. Private school educated. My parents are doctors. I come from privilege.
And you're comfortable in that world?
And I'm comfortable in that world. As I am comfortable with this world where I throw bones and I have to slaughter for people sometimes, and I deal with ancestors, and this is what I do for a living.
Do you solve people's problems?
No.
What do you do?
You must solve your own problems. I just give guidance.
People may consult you because they want answers to life's vexing questions. But those who are ill, who need to see a doctor, do they also come to you?
I don't attribute all physiological illnesses with spiritual symptoms. I believe that our bodies are weak, and sometimes you just need your body to be taken care of.
So there's no conflict. The two worlds are living side by side.
No.
But we have a particular problem in South Africa. My husband is also a doctor, and one of his biggest concerns is that when someone comes and has an illness, whether they're testing positive for HIV, they put on ARVs, at some point they abandon the treatment because someone has advised them that this is a spiritual or ancestral calling, and then there's that conflict. People lose their lives because they're not taking their medication properly. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Some people don't have a good context of their material reality, so they attribute structural and physical realities to the supernatural because they have no other way of expressing it. You are sick, your body is ill, maybe you need to go see a doctor. The person's worldview will then channel them in a way that says, this looks suspicious. Maybe your neighbor doesn't like you, because this is the world that they've come from. And it's important to not to condone it, but to understand that people are coming from a place of ignorance, in the sense that they haven't had access to understanding the world the way that it is, and they can only see things from their own perspective, and this is what the danger is, you know?
And what about the bogus traditional leaders? Isn't the best way to deal with them, to regulate the sector?
I feel very strongly that regulating izangoma is just another way to try and make, the West and rational medicine and all of that Eurocentric perspective the norm. There's no real way of, how do you prove that I'm a sangoma?
But hold on,
yeah.
Nokulinda. The medicine that we get at hospitals and doctors, the efficacy has been tested.
Yes.
So all I'm saying is, why is your world not subjected to the same efficacy test?
Because it's not of the same
It's not
paradigm.
of the same world.
It's not of the same world. It's not of the same paradigm. It's a completely different way of looking at the world and seeing things and understanding. So to try and impose a Western framework
or test.
So
what test would be appropriate?
There is no test that can be appropriate. There's no way of proving. You can take medicinal plants. You can test them in the lab, and you'll know, okay, this tree can treat flu, this and that, because of these pharmacological properties that it has. But there are medicines that are to help people overcome heartbreak, to attract a partner. These kind of things do exist, and there's no rational, empirical way of testing it.
I think you've argued your case so well.